Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. You know who it is. And let me check that. Yep, it's good. It's good. It's good. List week has begun. It started with this video. I'm going to be listing off the worst songs of the year, worst albums of the year, my favorite EPs, my favorite songs, and then my favorite albums to finish things off. But this video is honorable mentions, the albums that I wanted to shout out that were highlights of this year, that were very popular. A lot of people talked about them. A lot of people enjoyed them. I enjoyed them, but they didn't end up making my list. Before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to two lists that are on the website right now. Two contributors to the Needle Drop, Austin and Jeremy, have their own favorite albums lists down there in the description. They have very different tastes from yours truly, so there are a lot of albums on these lists, a lot of very good albums on these lists that do not turn up on my lists. Having said all that, let's get into it. The first album I want to give a quick shout out to is the new Dillinger Escape Plan album, Dissociation. This is the death knell, this is the death rattle of this awesome metalcore and mathcore band. Sad that it's their final album, but if you have not given this thing a listen, please do. It is one of this year's best metal highlights. Next, the new NxWorries album. Yes, Lord! Anderson .Paak was a busy little bee this year, and this was one of a couple projects that he dropped this year that were very much of note, and it's just this kind of throwback soul funk album, but of course with some tight hip-hop production from Knowledge. Lots of swagger, lots of personality on this thing, and a real raw vintage feel. Young Thug's latest project, Jeffery, I think I can say unequivocally this is the best thing he has done thus far, and only makes me more excited for the future as long as he doesn't keep just hammering out these mixtapes that just do the same thing over and over and over. I would love to see him space his projects out a little bit more and get a little more adventurous like he does on this one, and boil the project down to its best tracks. I think he did at least most of those things here, and that's why I think Jeffery turned out so good. Skepta with Konnichiwa. This is one of the biggest hip-hops to come out of the UK in a long time, and hopefully it's not the last for a long time. I'm hoping that Skepta can sort of, with this album, get people a little more interested in UK hip-hop, interested in grime, and really get the ball rolling, open those floodgates so more British rappers can make albums that are turning heads in the US. Chance the Rapper, Coloring Book. As much as I loved some of the songs off of this thing, there were some amazing tracks on this record. There are also some incredible flaws on this album too, which you can catch if you watch my review of this record. Still though, I did like it more than anything Chance had done thus far, and has me looking forward to whatever he does in the future. It's a good hip-hop project. Lots of interesting gospel elements worked into the music too. Jazz, lots of very peppy beats, and Chance's performances from beginning to end vocally, as far as lyrics and as far as singing, are dead on. Iggy Pop's Post-Pop Depression is another record that I want to shout out. This is definitely one of the best rock records I heard this year, and a really good album considering how late it is coming out in Iggy Pop's career. Not only that, but it's a pretty interesting record where I feel like in a lot of ways Pop sort of looks back on rock music, looks back on his age. It's a little retrospective, and not in a nostalgic kind of way. It's like he's in not just the third act, but really the fourth act of his career at this point. So we're kind of breaching into these waters in rock music that we haven't quite before, where our stars in the genre are so old, so aged, that we're getting these weird Twilight Years releases that I think are pretty intriguing so far. I want to give a shout out to one of the most polarizing mixtapes that I reviewed this year. I enjoyed it, though many people didn't really enjoy that I enjoyed it, and constantly cited this mixtape as one of the low points of my reviewing career. Like, how could you like this more than this? How could you like this as much as this? Because everybody in the comments has to turn music into a dick measuring contest. Of course, I'm talking about the latest Lil Yachty mixtape, Lil Boat. Still really like this tape. Still really like Lil Yachty, and hoping he comes together with a project as solid as this in the future, because that last sort of Apple Music exclusive project that he did, or at least it came out on Apple Music first, didn't really care for that all too much. Want to give a shout out to the actually very tasteful and well-written collaborative project, Case Lang Veirs, their self-titled record. Didn't expect these three to cohesively fused together on a series of songs this good in the way that they did, I thought that, you know, there'd probably be maybe a little chaos, or maybe some things just not really feeling like they're working. But I actually think they could come out with another record under this name, and it would still be at least as good. I mean, sure, it kind of seems like one songwriter takes the reins on one track, another takes the reins on another, but they all play very good supportive roles for each other on these songs. You know, maybe it's a bit of a mixed bag, but still a good singer-songwriter record, good indie folk record, very tuneful, very good performances. Next, I want to give a shout out to Open Mike Eagle and Paul White for the Hella Personal Film Festival album. Some of Mr. Mike Eagle's most clever tracks turn up on this project, and it's basically a cool little indie art rap album with a lot of personality, a lot of wit. If somehow this thing slipped by you and you're an underground hip-hop fan, please don't let the rest of 2016 go without you having heard this thing, and potentially even buying it off Bandcamp from these guys. Support the artist. Jesus Christ! Childish Gambino's Awaken My Love. Want to give a shout out to that record. Liked it quite a bit. Again, not an amazing record or perfect record in my opinion, but I think it shows great potential for maybe this sound that Donald Glover could explore more in the future, or at least it makes me excited to potentially hear Donald Glover explore more sounds in the future. I'm not like the biggest fan of his hip-hop and his alternative or his sort of contemporary R&B inspired releases. This, however, was like, wow, you really do this well. Not that he doesn't do the other things well, maybe they're more just not my cup of tea, but this really wowed me as far as his transition into this very vivid and bold funk style. Also want to mention the Avalanches, who came back after over a decade of studio album silence with the album Wildflower, which was a really big musical change of pace and not really that bad of a comeback. And finally, maybe one of my biggest regrets of the year is having not given a full review to the Leonard Cohen album Want It Darker, especially in light of his recent passing. I didn't really care for some of the mixing on this album, but still, I think I may spend early 2017 listening to the album again, refamiliarizing myself with the record, and who knows, if I get some time, might come out with a more in-depth review of the album. And those are all of my honorable mentions for the year, guys. Remember, those lists that I mentioned earlier in the video are down there in the description, and all of those other videos, the worst tracks, worst songs, best EPs, best songs, best albums, all coming this week. All right, excited for you guys to watch all the videos. I hope you're doing well. Looking forward to the holidays too. Transition, and that is the honorable mentions video. Again, more list videos on the way. Some of them are linked next to my head, or at least they will be once they drop. And I hope you're doing well. Click on one of those videos, subscribe to the channel, go to the official website, and that's it. You're the best. 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 You're the best forever.